100%, I agree. And then also there are medications that are going to affect potassium, right? We know a lot of the blood pressure medications, as well as things like water pills or diuretics. So if you're on a BP medication, right, there's a good chance some of that's going to be actually driving further potassium deficiency. So low potassium levels are super common because of that. Also, we're going to have problems with potassium if we consume too much alcohol, right? Alcohol is going to cause us to pee a lot more potassium out because things like diuretics are going to cause you to lose more minerals, right? Diuretics basically activate a hormone that causes you to kind of continue to pee. And the more you pee with a diuretic in your system, whether it's, excess coffee or even excess alcohol, you're going to pee out a lot of those minerals. So that's kind of like vitally important, right?
And even
And
yeah, and
so
even tea. I mean, even tea could be to blame too. I think herbal teas can be great, but there is somewhat of a diuretic effect to certain teas as well. So if you're just like sipping on tea all day and not drinking enough just straight water, or our preference, water with a pinch of salt or water with some electrolytes added to it, this can happen easily. And this is not just a problem in athletes. People hear the word electrolyte and they think you only need that if you're in the NFL. No, you need electrolytes just to function.
exactly. The problem with a lot of people with their potassium is it's hard to get too much if you're taking it orally, right? Obviously, you go back to like the lethal injection. People are actually, in the lethal injection in the prison system, people are actually being killed by potassium IV, right, or injection. Now, it's hard to get too much potassium orally because some of the vomiting and diarrhea side effects and the nausea side effects that you get from actually having too low a potassium, well, guess what? You actually have similar side effects when you go too high. So usually you get so nauseous and you'll either throw up or you'll get diarrhea. So it's very difficult. The only way to really do it orally is going to be with an oral supplementation, and you'd have to do a lot of it, and all those symptoms would come into play. So it'd be really high. The only way you can get your potassium levels to the point where you're going to be too high is going to be on an IV. And what they do actually on an IV to reverse potassium overdoses, they do a bicarbonate infusion. Bicarbonate actually neutralizes that high level of potassium. But some of the major causes are going to be diarrhea, right? So if you have a parasite infection or a gut infection that's causing chronic loose stools, guess what? You may be having low potassium because of your gut. I have some patients that need 5 or 6 or 7 grams a day of potassium supplementation, whether it's because of a stress or a malabsorption issue, but all of their low potassium symptoms go away when they hit that level, meaning like the cramping, the twitching, the heart, the mood stuff all go away when they hit that higher level. So, I mean, the goal is let's fix the stress so you're not dumping the minerals as much. Let's fix the gut so we're absorbing. But, you know, I typically don't recommend doing more than 1 to 2 grams of potassium supplementally. And we'll do a good high quality chelate, whether it's a bisglycinate or a potassium bicarb, or we'll do a potassium citrate like in new salt, which is a cheap source. And then we'll try to plug in the rest via the diet. But if we have to go above, we'll do it incrementally, and we'll start looking for those low potassium symptoms to go away. But alcohol is going to be a big one. Chronic kidney issues, uncontrolled type 1 diabetes will do it. Diarrhea, like we mentioned, so gut issues. Diuretics is a big one. So if you're on a diuretic on a blood pressure med side, that could be a problem. Sweating a lot. So if you're sweating a lot, yeah, you're going to need a lot more minerals. Again, how Gatorade was figured out, I think it was the 1968, late 60s. I want to say it was the Orange Bowl, one of these big bowl games. The Florida Gators were actually playing halftime. I think one of the exercise physiologists or PT people, trainers, said, hey, let's get these electrolytes in. And they had a kick butt second half, and they killed it and won the game. And part of it was the electrolytes they put in. Now we have all these Gatorade substitutes, but they were called Gator Lights, right? Gator Lights, not Gatorade. They tasted like absolute crap. So what you have now are a whole bunch of minerals with a whole bunch of sugar and dyes. Back then, they just had the minerals and it tasted awful. But from a performance standpoint, they did really well because the other team didn't have it. So their muscles were functioning better. So sweating, not having enough folate or B vitamins, having high amounts of aldosterone, whether it's a tumor or just our adrenals being overstimulated. Some antibiotics can actually have problems as well. And then vomiting too much can create low potassium too. And then obviously just a junk food diet. We'll